On this vote, the ayes are 218, the nays are 211, with one answering present. The resolution is adopted.
On this vote, the yeas are 214 and the nays are 213. The motion is adopted.
Cheers erupted. Lawmakers celebrated. Critics were furious. And within moments, one of the most controversial votes in Congress had become national headline news. Representative Ilhan Omar had just been removed from the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and the reaction inside Washington was explosive. But here's the question that has Americans sharply divided. Was this a legitimate act of accountability, or was it political retaliation disguised as accountability? Stay with us, because in this video we're breaking down exactly what happened, why lawmakers voted the way they did, the arguments from both sides, and what this could mean for the future of Congress. And before we get started, I want to hear from you. If you believe elected officials should face consequences for controversial statements, comment accountability below. If you believe this was political retaliation, comment retaliation. Let's see where our viewers stand. Also, if you enjoy fact-based political analysis without the shouting and sensationalism, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us continue bringing you balanced coverage of the biggest stories shaping Washington today. Now let's get into what happened, because the details behind this vote are far more significant than many people realize.
Is anyone surprised that I am being targeted? Is anyone surprised that I am somehow deemed unworthy to speak about American foreign policy? Or that they see me as a powerful voice that needs to be silenced? Frankly, it is expected, because when you push power, power pushes back. Representation matters. Continuing to expand our ideas of who is American and who can partake in the American experiment is a good thing. I am an American who was sent here, by her constituents to represent them in Congress.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to use that logic, well, then all those people should have just said sorry and we'd move on, right? But no, we don't do that. And let me tell you, I take a little bit of offense to what the hell is wrong with me. I'll tell you, there's nothing wrong with me. I took an oath to defend the Constitution, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Again, I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm going to hold the Constitution, and it's very simple. We really shouldn't even have this debate. If you break the law and you follow due process, there are consequences to your actions, even if you say sorry. So we can try all of the diversion tactics that we would like. It doesn't change the fact that someone broke the law and that someone should be held accountable. It is disappointing, Mr. Speaker, that their own party can't hold them accountable, that they have such hypocrisy. So with that, I yield 2 minutes to my friend from New York.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've heard from my colleagues the reasons why the Representative Omar should be removed from this committee, but I feel like all the reasons have not just yet been stated, which is why I rise to add for the record. We've heard about the comments that were made regarding anti-Semitism and anti-Israeli views, but I rise to add to the record that as a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, I've sat there and heard the representative actually spew anti-American rhetoric as well. I've been in that committee room where the representative equates Israel and the United States to Hamas and the Taliban. Absolutely unacceptable for a member of that committee. I've also heard the representative equate that it is the United States' fault that there is turmoil in Venezuela that is not because of the oppressive socialist and communism that has spread throughout Central and South America and Venezuela at the hands of the Maduro and Hugo Chavez regimes. That is unacceptable. And as a New York representative to hear the representative belittle, to try to diminish the worst terrorist attack on United States soil on September 11, 2001, as some people did something, that is unacceptable as well. And I hold the same standard for this side of the aisle that I do the other, because when another colleague on my side said something about 9/11, I also voted to have her removed from the Education Committee because I thought that was inappropriate. So I'm being consistent here, and I hope my colleagues will do the same to show that this is about consistency and accountability, because we should not have an individual with those views on the committee that is tasked with
Before we continue, take a second to let us know where you're watching from and whether you've been following this story since the beginning. And if you're finding this breakdown helpful so far, hit the like button. It may seem small, but it helps this video reach more people who are looking for context beyond the headlines. As the debate intensified, lawmakers from both parties offered dramatically different interpretations of what the vote actually meant. Supporters of the resolution argued that committee assignments are privileges, not guarantees. In their view, Congress has every right to evaluate whether members' public statements align with the responsibilities associated with specific committee roles. Many Republicans pointed to previous controversies involving Omar's comments regarding foreign policy and international affairs. They argued that those statements raised concerns about her ability to effectively represent American interests while serving on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Several lawmakers insisted that their position was rooted in consistency. They argued that if Congress is willing to impose consequences on members from one party for certain comments, then the same standard should apply regardless of political affiliation. According to this perspective, accountability requires applying standards consistently rather than selectively. Supporters of the vote also argued that committee assignments carry symbolic significance. Members serving on high-profile committees often become public representatives of congressional priorities in specific policy areas. As a result, they argued that statements viewed as controversial can affect perceptions of the committee itself. However, opponents viewed the situation through an entirely different lens. Many Democrats argued that the vote was fundamentally political. They contended that Omar was being targeted because of her policy positions and criticism of certain aspects of U.S. foreign policy. From their perspective, the action represented an effort to marginalize viewpoints that challenge established political consensus. Critics of the removal warned that allowing majorities to remove committee members based primarily on controversial statements could create a dangerous cycle. Today, one party might remove a member from the opposing side. Tomorrow, the other party could do exactly the same thing after regaining power. This concern has become increasingly relevant as Congress grows more polarized. Political norms that once limited certain actions have gradually weakened, creating an environment where both parties are more willing to use institutional power aggressively. As a result, actions that might once have been considered extraordinary now occur with increasing frequency. Observers note that committee removals have become part of a broader pattern of escalating partisan conflict. Each side often points to previous actions taken by the other as justification for current decisions. Supporters call it accountability. Critics call it retaliation. And because both sides rely on fundamentally different interpretations of events, reaching consensus becomes extremely difficult. Meanwhile, Omar responded by framing the vote as part of a larger conversation about representation and political participation. She argued that dissenting voices often face resistance when challenging established power structures. Her remarks resonated strongly with supporters who viewed the controversy through the lens of inclusion and democratic representation. Others disagreed with that characterization and maintained that the issue centered on specific statements rather than broader questions of identity or representation. This disagreement demonstrates why the controversy became so significant. The two sides are not merely disagreeing about facts. They are disagreeing about the underlying meaning of the vote itself. Was it accountability? Was it political retaliation? Was it both? Reasonable observers can examine the same event and arrive at very different conclusions. That's one reason why the debate continues long after the House cast its votes. Regardless of where people stand politically, one reality remains clear. The controversy revealed just how deeply divided Congress has become over questions involving speech, responsibility, and political consequences. And those divisions are unlikely to disappear anytime soon. While much of the attention focused on Representative Ilhan Omar herself, the larger story may actually be about Congress as an institution. The vote reflects a broader transformation that has been unfolding in Washington for years. Committee assignments were once viewed primarily as tools for policy development and legislative oversight. Today, they increasingly serve as battlegrounds in larger political conflicts. As partisan divisions deepen, committee membership has become another arena where political power is exercised and contested. This shift raises important questions about the future of congressional governance. What standards should determine committee service? Who gets to define those standards? And how should Congress balance accountability with political diversity? These are not simple questions. In fact, they touch on some of the most fundamental principles underlying representative democracy. On one hand, supporters of stronger accountability measures argue that public officials should face consequences when their actions or statements undermine confidence in important institutions. They contend that committee assignments should reflect not only expertise but also judgment and responsibility. On the other hand, advocates for broader political inclusion warn against creating standards that can be used to exclude unpopular viewpoints. They argue that democratic systems function best when a wide range of perspectives can participate in policymaking. Both positions involve legitimate concerns. Accountability matters. Representation matters. The challenge lies in balancing those priorities without undermining either one. Another important aspect of this story involves public trust. Many Americans already express frustration with Congress and its inability to address major national issues. Highly visible political conflicts can further shape public perceptions of how lawmakers prioritize their responsibilities. Supporters of the vote may see Congress enforcing standards. Critics may see Congress engaging in partisan conflict. Either way, public confidence can be affected by how these disputes unfold. Political scientists often note that institutional legitimacy depends not only on outcomes but also on perceptions of fairness. When citizens believe rules are applied consistently, trust tends to increase. When they perceive double standards, trust can decline. That reality helps explain why debates over consistency played such a central role throughout this controversy. Lawmakers on both sides claim to be defending principles. Each side accused the other of applying those principles selectively. As a result, the debate extended beyond Omar herself and became a broader argument about fairness and institutional integrity. Looking ahead, many observers believe this vote may influence future congressional actions. If committee removals become more common, future majorities could increasingly use them as tools of political leverage. Some view that possibility positively, arguing it creates stronger accountability mechanisms. Others worry it could accelerate partisan escalation and make cooperation even more difficult. Only time will reveal which interpretation proves more accurate. What is certain is that the vote represents another chapter in the ongoing evolution of congressional politics. The institution continues to adapt to changing political realities, shifting public expectations, and intensifying partisan competition. Whether those changes ultimately strengthen or weaken Congress remains a subject of significant debate. As citizens evaluate events like this one, it is important to examine arguments from multiple perspectives. Political controversies are often more complex than simple headlines suggest. Different observers may reach different conclusions while relying on many of the same facts. That complexity is not a weakness of democracy. In many ways, it is one of its defining features. Healthy democratic debate depends on the ability to evaluate competing arguments, challenge assumptions, and engage respectfully with opposing viewpoints. The removal of Ilhan Omar from the Foreign Affairs Committee will likely remain a topic of discussion for years to come. Not only because of the lawmaker involved, but because of the larger questions it raises about power, accountability, representation, and the future of Congress itself. What do you think? Did Congress make the right decision? Should committee assignments be subject to this type of review? Or does this move risk increasing political division? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. If you enjoyed this balanced analysis, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others interested in understanding the issues shaping Washington today.